majority of the team and staff member, or a lot of the staff members, participated in the chapel services and small groups as well, to the point where the security guards, they would ask me, like, was that a team meeting? Because it was like so many people coming out of the room cool. Whenever we were on the road. What I found, because before I was with the Texans, I was with the Patriots. And what I found is when you dive into relationship at that deep level, especially growing in your faith together in that context, those relationships actually last. Person after person passing by, and I pulled the car over the side of the road and I was like, yeah, I gotta be at this place, but this guy needs help right now. The way that I feel like the Lord has designed the world, that if we all did a little bit of our part and served the world, there wouldn't be as much need in the world. There wouldn't be as much hurt. There wouldn't be as much mental health issues in the world if we all were loving just the smallest bit. We would see so much of a change and so much of an impact in the world.
It's time to open up your eyes. No more giving into the lies. Just because they taught us to believe in some American dream that could make us rise. Did you give me food when I was hungry? When I was cold, did you clothe me? If we really start believing what we're preaching and teaching, then we can bring true healing.
Robbie!
Lynne!
There we go.
Oh, I miss you.
Me too. Oh my God.
I don't know if I told you that you're going to be hanging out with all three of us, did I?
Is that Jack?
It is.
Hey, Jack. So is that seat on your left? Is that one for me?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay, thanks. I love that it's
or
empty.
Elijah, either one.
Yeah. Hey, we are soon approaching a day where you can podcast from Houston and we can see you sitting right there. That's what's crazy.
Oh, really?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
All right.
For sure. Right, Jack?
That's weird.
Oh,
right, Tech guy?
I'm going to stop
talking about
doing.
like holograms.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably doable right now, right? Like, isn't there technology available right now for Robbie to sit here? He's there, but we see him there. It's there right now.
Technology we could afford? No.
I mean,
technology that exists? Yes.
Okay. I mean, you saw Star Wars. That was in the 70s, man. That was a long time ago. You remember when those messages from Leia?
I remember the movies. Yes.
Yeah.
But there is a ride at Disney where they actually they create the hologram effect.
Okay.
And it's neat how they do it. Like if you're paying attention to it, you get because like, oh, I see how you're doing it. But it's really neat. Like it looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Robbie, I was going to ask for our listeners' sake just how well you know all of us, and I think they've already caught on that you're delighted to see all three of us. You're welcome.
Yes.
We love seeing you, though, man.
I miss you guys.
Yeah. Hey, so tell people that we're going to, first of all, this is, I'm deeming this the first episode of the school year. Like this is the first one. It's going to be more fun than anything. Yeah, more fun. Yeah. Lots of laughs. I'm going to put you through the ringer, young man. We're gonna have fun. That's gonna be awesome. So tell Seacoasters your background when it comes to Seacoast, because it's been a while since you've been here.
Yeah. So actually, a lot of people may not know. I started going to Seacoast when I was in high school. So I was invited to Seacoast to the Annex, which was the first off-campus site. Yeah. Down in, was that Bell Hall or something?
Yeah, the Bell Hall Shopping Center.
Yeah, Bell Hall Shopping Center with Pastor Naeem and Pastor Todd. My friend actually invited me out there, and then he stood me up for a girl. And so I was actually... And so I showed up at this service with, a few hundred white people, and I was the only black person in the room. And it was quite interesting. And it was just really funny because on my way out, somebody stopped me and said, "Hey, I don't think I've ever seen you here before. Is this your first time?" And I was like, "How did you guess?" Oh man! But that was Pastor Todd, and it was actually a really special night because my family was just going through a lot of tough times at the time, and he prayed with me, and I really got to see just a different style of ministry that impacted my heart. And I started coming back. I think I was getting ready to go off to college at the time. So I started coming back during breaks, and then years later, ended up coming back to the Dream Center and joined staff there.
Sam or Jeff? Pastor Sam or Pastor Jeff?
This was Pastor Sam.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Pastor Sam. Pastor Jeff was running the Dream Center at the time, and I had just. I just moved back from Argentina. I was living, working for a missions organization down there, and they had a Spanish service at the Dream Center that I got a chance to plug into. So I worked there, even though nobody believed I spoke Spanish back then. Led worship there for a little while, and then I moved up pretty quickly to Irmo campus where I met Lynne, started working with her and becoming really great friends there, and then moved back to Charleston to the James Island campus.
Hey, real quick, Robbie, I'm going to keep it cryptic on this one, but do you know the cigarette story involving Lynne?
That actually happened before Robbie came to the Irmo campus.
Before me.
All right.
So,
we'll fill you in later.
Yeah.
Our listeners already know.
Yeah. I was going to say, I already like, I don't know. There was some stuff. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
Hey, well, let me interrupt Let me interrupt your story and just tell you that I remember when Sam reached out when we were in need of a worship leader, and I almost wanted to say, how dare you even ask? He asked if I would be interested in Robbie Madison coming to be our worship leader.
Oh my gosh.
You're asking me if of course. Like, let's.
Oh my
I remember
gosh.
I was picking somebody up at the airport, and I was in the little waiting station, and that's when you and I had a conversation. And I mean, we were just like, no way, this is awesome. Because, it was an awesome setup for you because you were coming home to a job, doing what you want to do. And I'm like, I just struck gold with, one of the better worship leaders in the world. I'm saying that. Saying that.
Thank you.
Hey,
I was very nervous about that interview, by the way.
Were you really?
Lynne probably knows. I was pretty nervous because I was like, I don't know if we're going to really match. We ended up becoming best friends, but I didn't know if we were going to match.
Yeah.
For personality wise. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into a little more of that too. I've got some funny stories. Robbie, this is, I'm going to call it the Seacoast current and former campus pastor quiz. So each answer to the question is a specific campus pastor. You know each of these that I'm going to mention very well.
Okay.
All right. First one. Which former or current campus pastor actually fell on the way up to do response time, and the worship team, and especially your sister-in-law, had to try and stop laughing so they could lead everyone in worship?
That was definitely Joey
Svensson.
Joey.
Which
we were
former
in a movie theater, and he fell right over that front row, trying to say it while everybody's eyes were closed.
And I mean, people were like, "Oh gosh, I have to look up. I know we're praying, but what just happened?" All right,
that was terrible.
Which former or current campus pastor has called you the most number of times to receive fashion approval for more formal occasions I venture out to? And I just gave it away.
That's Joey. Yep.
I see a trend here, Jack.
But these are going to get hilarious, though. Which former or current campus pastor do you have plans with to hang in the same nursing home when we're so old, all we can do is just chill?
Why would you add we?
Hey, do y'all want to join us? Nursing homes are kind of cool when you think about it.
If you can get a lot of cool people in there, that's all a little bit, delusional.
Well, think about it.
If
you can accept your lot in life, like this is it. This is my life.
Yeah.
I mean, have fun with it. Hey, here's the funniest one that Robbie's going to be like petrified of. Which former or current campus pastor told you minutes before service started with tears in his eyes that his grandma passed away, and you laughed in his face? What campus pastor was that? He thought I was joking.
What?
I went up to Robbie.
I do remember that.
Rosa remembers that. She was right there. I walked up to Robbie and I was like, "Hey man, I just found out my grandma just passed away." He goes, like he just thought it was a rant because I'm joking all the time. I'm always joking.
So we would be at staff meetings, and the other staff members had to decipher for me all the time whether Joey was joking or not, because he always said something very serious, and I was usually pretty shocked by it. and they're like, don't pay attention. He's just joking.
Yeah. And also his jokes are very rarely any good. And so it's hard to know, like, was he trying to be funny?
Yes.
Are you saying that there's an unawareness that I have? Would you?
No, I mean, we're all aware of it. Whether you two are aware of it, I don't care.
Oh man, this is so fun. Well, I want you to tell people what you've been up to since you left Seacoast, and I'll just tell these two and you. We're going to get into a little bit about calling. Like, I think we would all agree that as believers, we all have a similar calling that joins us together as a body of Christ. But what I'm going to eventually ask y'all is, do you sense that there are some very specific things that God has made you that you consider a calling? There's two things I could tell you right off the top of my head that I feel like they're very unique callings to me. So we're going to get into that in a second. But you and I were sitting at Starbucks on Savannah Highway, and you brought up your opportunity to get a job at the Houston Texans, basically leading worship services and all of that. And I remember you were a little taken back because I told you got to go do that. And you're like, whoa, like, you don't want me to stay? And I just smelled good opportunity. And hopefully, I mean, you're a grown man, so you made your own decision, but hopefully that was a good decision. I think it was. So you went off to, what'd you do with the Houston Texans?
Yeah. So that was an interesting time because people who know me know that I'm very like dutiful, responsible. And so immediately, I mean, they asked me multiple times to move out to Texas, and I just kept saying no. Like, why would I? Like, I can't uproot the family and move. And, I was plugged in at James Island campus, and, I was able to just fly there and fly back. And, I just remember there were three people that you were the first one, and then my therapist, and then also another mentor of mine that was with me on the mission field all said, Robbie, I think that you need to stop and think about this. Like, I think that the Lord is opening a door for you to do something uniquely you're wired for, which also didn't make any sense to me because I didn't know anything about football at all, and barely do now, but a little bit more.
Hey, do you remember the sheet that I made you at your going away party? Like, I showed you how the NFL is separated into two different AFC, NFC. Yes. Here's how the playoffs go.
I almost know that delineation now. And,
almost. He doesn't know.
And then, I asked one of the players, a friend of mine who was with the Patriots, and then he switched over, or he was traded or something to the Titans. And I asked him, I was like, so what position are you playing with the Titans now? And he just laughed at me. He was like, Robbie, we play the same position no matter what team we're on. And I'm like,
Robbie's talking to a famous quarterback, and hey, you're going to give defense a chance in that team?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know how this works, but yeah, so everybody was pointing me in this, direction. And I really felt like the Lord had opened this door. And so I walked through it. It felt very natural, but it was probably a year or two in that I realized it was like, nobody is doing this. Like, we had built this chapel program that was basically, we wanted to give them the opportunity to have biblical community within their own context. And so instead of just having a teaching before a game, we did a service on Saturday nights with worship, with different speakers from all across the country. We did small groups for the players, small groups for the staff members. We did a marriage small group. We did a women's small group. All of that.
Gosh, that's so cool, man.
And it was literally just like being on staff at Seacoast, but now it was specifically with this small concentrated community. And I realized, because I didn't know much about the industry, that this was very unique. The whole experience.
Yeah. What percentage of football players were participants of the stuff that you were doing? Like, would you say maybe half of the players took to it, or what?
Yeah. On our team, it was over half. The majority of the team and staff member, or a lot of the staff members, participated in the chapel services and small groups as well, to the point where the security guards, they would ask me, like, was that a team meeting? Because it was like so many people coming out of the room whenever we were on the road. And so, yeah, it definitely was a blessing. But what I found, because before I was with the Texans, I was with the Patriots. And what I found is when you dive into relationship at that deep level, especially growing in your faith together in that context, those relationships actually last. So I still am friends with people that were with the Patriots. So like, over a decade ago when I started, I'm still friends with them. And so even now with people who were with the Texans, like they ask me about, whoever it was way back when. So that I started to see the significant over time. I also realized how old I was getting.
Oh man, I thought it would. You have talked to me a few times about this, and I just thought it was refreshing for me to hear. I think, this is especially true for Jack, but for me too, like coming to Seacoast in 2002, I just don't know much outside of Seacoast. Like I just haven't gone to other churches. I have no business in evaluating other churches because I don't know what's going on the inside because I've only been at Seacoast. And Lynne, I don't know if you would say the same. I mean, you've been here for a super long time, but Robbie, you've just kind of, I'll use the word lament. You can take that word back if you want, but it sounds like it's been more challenging than you thought in Texas to find a similar church as Seacoast. So share that experience in whatever manner you want to. What are the things about Seacoast that you missed? Because I think it's kind of a special testimony to what God's doing here.
For sure, yeah, I would say that plugging into Seacoast has been really good for me over the years, but I think because it feels so natural, it can go a little bit unnoticed. And, we've all seen it. All of us who have been on staff, we've seen people leave and come back and leave and come back. Because I think that what the Lord has graced Seacoast with is a really special love and bond with relationships specifically. So, we had some really tight community there that just naturally formed and multiplied, to where when we moved to a new state, starting over, meeting people, obviously I was around the football players. So that was, I had a little bit of community through that, but it was quite a shock. It was a difference, to, like having Lynne, playing with my babies and, sharing meals and doing cookouts and going to the beach and all the things, to now like having to, number one, meet people. And if they're not as relationally, if they don't prioritize relationship as much, then it was tougher. Now, I will say that I met some people through Seacoast out here that ended up being really good community for me, which was a huge blessing. But one of the biggest things that were shocking to me in a lot of the churches, not only me, but to my family as well, is the churches that we encountered out here, not all of them, but a lot of them were a lot more political in their messaging, where I felt like at Seacoast, we did a good job of not being overly political in the messaging, because it, I think that's
I would say not at all, personally.
Yeah. I would probably agree with you. It's hard for me to like just make that statement, sure. But I remember having a conversation specifically with Pastor Josh where he said to me, he was like, the Lord has not called me to lead a church that sways one way politically. He's called me to lead a church of different people drawing together to follow Christ, to draw near to him. And to me, he might not have seen that as like a huge statement when he was saying it to me, but to me, it was huge. Mm-hmm. It was huge to know his, not only his awareness, but his intentionality to his intentionality and his empathy with understanding that your congregation is made up of different people who are really trying to do the best they can to follow Christ. And their experience might be night and day different. There might be blind spots, there might be those kinds of things. And so even though it probably isn't really said and articulated all the time, I would say in the tone there, I only noticed this when I moved away. When I moved away, the tone was different. There were a lot of things that were said in churches out here that were almost for an applause. And it was a literal political hot button issue that did not feel empathetic. It actually felt very hurtful. I won't go into specific things.
Nothing to do with the gospel, I'm assuming.
In their opinion, maybe it was.
Yeah.
But
that's a good point.
In my experience, probably not.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a little hard.
Yeah.
Mixing that. So to find a place where we could feel like, okay, we can just relax and be and journey together. Even this weekend, with as patriotic as times are right now, there's a lot that's happening in our country specifically that is really hard to navigate, really hard to deal with. So being overly patriotic in a time like this feels in some ways insensitive to some people who are really going through a lot of things and really having to navigate some things. That has nothing to do with not loving your country, not loving your country or being happy that you were born in America. Like a lot of people jump to that, but it just is building a reality that sometimes some things are really challenging here for people. And I would say that's an understatement, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I agree with everything you're saying, Robbie. And one thing I'll say is, it is difficult to navigate. Like I'll share, like one of the things for me personally, I don't know, maybe this will get me in trouble, but whatever. I don't care.
You guys are kind of in charge of what goes out here, so.
That's not true about what I'm about to say. But I will say, one of the things that I'm not sure how I feel about it is every Memorial Day or 4th of July when we have American flags on our physical property. I don't know how I feel about that. Not because I don't love America, but because, I think one of the things is, with the church, I think one of the things that people in general want is a place that transcends everything that's happening right now. Good things too. It's not like, oh, I don't like this, and so I want the church to be different. It's, no, I need there to be something that is simply beyond everything about this world.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And my feeling is like when the church in any way ties itself to a country or an ideology, even if that country is what I would consider to be an exceptional one, and I do think America is exceptional, right. It's still going to be gone one day. And, heaven isn't going to be a transplanted America. And so what do we do when we tie ourselves to a specific country? Should we be doing that? And, one of the things about Seacoast I think is really interesting. So one of the things I do deal with is people tend to send me the emails that they don't want to respond to because they know I don't care.
But I definitely say I will answer it if you want me to, but please answer.
Yeah, I know what that means. And so one of the things I hear sometimes is, when is Seacoast going to take a stand on X? And there's one side of the political spectrum tends to think if you don't take a stand on these issues, then you are ignoring the gospel in some way. And the other side tends to say, it's like if Seacoast was more like us, or if Seacoast cared about these things, then they'd look more like us. One of the things I think is really interesting about Seacoast is that I think, and this is, I don't have any particular churches in mind, but I think this is true both of churches on the left and churches on the right who actively pursue those ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that Seacoast does a better job of representing the things that they care about better than they do. Like, I feel like, and this is just my experience, I can be wrong, but it's funny, like, sometimes I'll talk to, people who are on the left and the things they care about, and I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but in my experience, Seacoast is more diverse in almost every way than a church that is actively ideological on either end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So if you care about diversity, guess what? My church is weirdly diverse, especially politically. Like Seacoast is a bizarrely diverse church politically. Especially, like, again, we're an evangelical megachurch in Charleston, South Carolina. That's not how that should work. But it does. And I think it's not because we're too afraid to talk about these things. It's because that's not what this is about to us. Mm-hmm. And to us, it truly is about something that transcends, ideology and country and anything else that might divide us. And Josh is serious about that. And so we are serious about that. And I think what you end up with is a church full of people who feel welcome and are sometimes a little bit surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to go more into what you said about flags and everything. I think that for some people that would be like, what in the world are you talking about? This is our country. And I think it's important to understand, though, that, especially for people who are really invested in who's running the government and who they vote for and what the policies, and people who are affected by those policies, like there are people who don't see this country in high regard. They see it as, just things that are going awry and it's personally affecting them. Mm-hmm. Stop right there. It's personally affecting them, whether they're right or wrong about their opinions. It affects them. We just want to minister to people. So why would we have that as any kind of barrier? I mean, it's kind of like a sacrifice. Okay, I love America and I love the American flag, but there's some people on a journey that when they see that, they're like, oh, things are just not going well and this is painful to me. So why would we even have it? But I would say to kind of ground me, I see it as almost like Christmas decor. It's like the holiday is America, so we've got decorations. The holiday's Christmas, we put up Christmas decorations. Yeah, right. I mean, but I agree with you. What do y'all think, Robbie and Lynn, about that? Maybe we'll have to edit out all the flag discussion. Well, I think the four of us know and value that this is a sensitive issue to people. I think we all understand. Especially like my parents' generation, who their parents, I mean, they actually saw America as an ambassador of good, stopping evil, and they saw tons of people sacrifice their lives. So I totally understand how they can reflect and be like, we're a really good country. It's worth celebrating. We stopped real bad guys from taking over. I just understand the generation's perspectives. But
yeah, definitely. I would say, I'm just kind of thinking through certain examples, and not to get into like a deep political discussion, but, there were some years, 2 or 3 years ago, we had a school shooting here in Texas. And I think we had a chapel service right afterwards, maybe the next day or 2 days after. And instead of doing the service, I just kind of put it aside. I said, hey, look, I'm going to sing one song, and then we're going to have just a talk about how everybody's feeling right now with what happened. And I said, you can feel all kinds of things. And these are football players, so like, obviously this isn't a normal discussion in the locker room. So day after this happened, I asked them, like, all right, let's just say how we're feeling, whether it's confused, whether it's scared, whether it's disappointed, whether it's angry, whatever it is. And one by one, people were talking about, first of all, I'm scared to take my kids to school, or some people were angry with the church for taking a hyper response toward one position or not. It wasn't necessarily the issue. It was the insensitivity to what was happening. It was the safety of their most precious people in their lives, and that posture is very different than, we go, I have no issue with the flag or anything. I love my country. I love the flag. I love all of it. What my issue is the tone in which we present it, because if we just put on a face and we just create a narrative and we're just performative with something without realizing that there's stories and there are things that are happening underneath it, that's when the insensitivity actually comes, with that. So anyway, with that specific issues with this one particularly, I couldn't come at it with a hyper political response. I needed to meet people where they were. And for some of them, it was this is the reality of our country and I'm scared, or this is the reality of my country and I'm angry. This is the reality of the church and I don't have an answer for that. So that's a very different way to approach the situation.
Yeah. I just thought of this. What do y'all think about this? That if someone maybe has a hard time understanding how people feel who would be rubbed the wrong way, maybe flip the tables and imagine that your guy isn't the president. And you know what I'm saying? Like you feel like the wrong person is running the country and it's affecting you. I mean, I think that's a good way to relate. I mean, because I know for sure, people who didn't vote for one guy are very, when he's elected, it's hurtful, just like the other people. I mean, it's this similar experience.
It's emotional. It's emotional.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when you told me that, I was like, man, all that stuff is super encouraging, especially because I do think Seacoast is a very, very special place. Mm-hmm. I think that it's easily lumped into all the other mega churches externally, and I think all of us, staff and people invested, we know different that this is not just. But then again, I haven't been to all those other places. I just hear stuff. But
and it's and just to add to it, this doesn't mean that these churches have bad people,
right?
That's not the discussion.
Oh no, not
really at all. Because I've met some really incredible people. The discussion is the shock and what we're allowing to lead from the pulpit and mass communication with people. Mm-hmm. I think we should take high responsibility with that and have high empathy as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I do want to just make sure I say this so I don't forget. It'll be in the show notes, but you write wonderful music. You've got a full-length album out, Spotify, iTunes. You wrote a love song to your wife, which is still one of my kids and my favorite songs. It's just the catchiest thing ever. We're going to play that in this episode, man. It's one of the catchiest songs ever. But then what's the basically you got a I'm going to make a fool of myself.
Way that you love your neighbor.
Yes. Now it all came to me. Yeah. That really speaks to the conversation of what we're talking about. So we'll have to play that.
That song is called "The Way That You Love."
Yep.
And it's about loving the world with your action and your heart more than just words. And the things that we say.
Which I think it's a perfect artistic representation of what we just talked about, in my opinion. I mean, it's like, boom, right there. You. All right, well, let's talk calling real quick, and then I've got a few more things to talk about, including how it has been seeing your peer and former coworker become the LeBron James of worship music, Brandon Lake, and I'm curious, that's just been, I mean, you guys being peers, that has to have been...
Wait. What? I'm just curious.
What?
Has anyone actually ever called Brandon the LeBron James of
just
worship?
A second ago?
No, an actual person.
I'm not going to give him
that
Jordan.
Anyone would care about.
I'm not going to give him Jordan. I mean, maybe Keith Green would be Jordan.
So no, I'm sorry. This is just you though. You said this.
I mean, what do you think? He's the James Harden?
I'm just curious if anyone else has ever used this term.
I don't care. Is he one of the biggest names in the worship music industry right now? Yes or no?
Right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
LeBron James?
I'm not making any argument one way or the other. I just want to establish that you were the only person who has ever used this term.
I'm the only person who's done and said a lot of stuff.
Thankfully. Yeah, right. Because God is good, and much as he restrains evil in the world, he restrains a lot.
Wow, that was low, man.
Your thoughts.
Wow, that was low.
Before
Lynne,
we
you're
talk
not going to say
LeBron,
something? I thought you were my friend.
I'm just watching.
Before we talk about LeBron, Joey, can we talk about your shirt?
Yeah. What
What is that on your shirt?
It's Dolly.
It's Dolly.
Like Dolly Parton?
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite singers, but when I saw this shirt, the date of this, I think it's a concert photo, and the date of the concert is August the 13th, 1977, 2 days before I was born. I was like, I got to get this shirt. Y'all, she's my first crush. I remember, yes, I don't have a crush on her anymore. Let's talk calling. Just to kind of give you guys a glimpse of what I'm after right now, I'll tell y'all 2 low-hanging fruit callings that I feel as a part of my life that really doesn't have anything to do with my vocation or anything like that. I feel anytime someone reaches out to me and they're experiencing anything mental health related, challenges, a family, loved one, I really feel like God wants me outside of very unique circumstances. That's my time to stop what I'm doing, whether it's arranging a time to talk, whether it's visiting someone in the hospital who's having struggles with their mental health. That's one of them, just because of my experiences and how God has walked me through and made me stronger. And I remember Priscilla bringing someone over to the house and him telling me, "I know how you feel. You don't think this is going to end, but it is going to end." I remember being in that seat and just, how important it was to hear that sort of thing. So that's one of them. And then I'd say the second one is, people really, really struggling with their faith in a way of, I don't know if I can be a Christian anymore. Because, Robbie, you knew me when I'll just call it a faith crisis. I went through a time where I just didn't know what I believed, and I was looking for solid ground. And now I realize that I had to go through that process so God could burn off all the stuff that wasn't healthy for me to believe anyway, and a lot of the stuff that was indoctrinated to me as a kid and just unhealthy legalism and condemnation and all that stuff. So if anybody ever reaches out to me and said, "Hey, I'm really struggling with my faith, don't know if I believe anymore," that's another one that I feel like I would just kind of stop what I'm doing and make sure that I allot some time. So that's what I'm talking about. So I would love to hear, Robbie, I know you've told me that you're I'll let you tell people. What would you say are your callings? I'll tell you what you told me. You want me to tell you what you told me when I asked? You basically said outreach and worship. I remember you told me that. You said that you feel like those are the two things.
Yeah, I still feel like it's those 2 things. I was like, oh, what did I say back then? 'Cause you just told me I laughed when you told me about your grandma. So,
and then would you put fashion as kind of like a third?
No, that's in the category of art for me.
Okay.
So ever since I was a kid, as early as I can remember, I've been obsessed with anything artistic and musical. I've never seen it as a passion. It's crazy. Like the definition of passion, like great obsession, I guess. And I guess I am obsessed with it, but I just never saw it in that category of like, oh my gosh, music. It just felt just very natural to me. Like, I guess also because my mom is a singer, organist, choir director, pianist, all the things. And, growing up, I was at rehearsals and I was, singing at home and all that. So it just felt like it was such a natural part. And in our culture, growing up in Black church, I mean, music is such a huge part of our culture as well. Things as I got older, nothing really made sense to me outside of that. Even academically, like I did okay academically. My mom would tell you a different story. He's a genius, but for me, it always felt like the thing that made sense was music. And luckily, I felt like that was what the Lord had kind of a tool that he used to raise me, to open me up. I was a shy, kid and super quiet, and the Lord used music to mature me, to where now I can look back as an adult and look back and it's like, oh, this felt really intentional, because now that's a tool that he uses in my life all the time to either draw people near to him or to communicate messages or to help people grieve or to help people celebrate or, and education is probably another big one that I feel like the Lord has placed inside of me naturally. And I would say that I'm passionate about taking youth and helping them to find those strengths that the Lord has placed inside of them and say, hey, he wants to use this in your life to impact the world. So focus on this. Don't just spend all your time focusing on the weaknesses, but also pay attention to the strengths and pour into that. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is just outreach. Yeah.
And real quick, Robbie, I think it's noteworthy that you were a killer youth pastor. And I think you and Elizabeth maybe even surprised yourself because y'all were like, what? We're going to be youth pastors? It really was a vibrant youth group that you led. I think you were surprised how good you were.
I was.
But y'all had an awesome crew too, though. I mean,
I was like, how did they get me to do youth? I was very surprised, but it was the best ever. Like, you could bring those kids in a room and I would just start bawling today. Mm-hmm. I would just lose it, because it definitely felt like a missing piece for me. Having youth in the room and being able to do all these things to help them not only draw close to God, but, worship leading was different with youth. Yep. Discussions were different with youth. Helping them navigate all the hard things in life. Yeah. So, not that I'm trying to get another position as a youth leader again, but if it happens, it happens.
It was a great past season.
It was great. It was awesome.
All right. Outreach.
Yeah. Outreach, to me, that feels like a calling in a different way. It feels like more so just love your neighbor as yourself. And, that action, I feel like a lot of times, I don't know if this might not be a true statement for everybody, but it feels like when I'm not being able to serve people, or I'm not serving people, it feels like something that I've just switched off, and I, like there's needs everywhere. Right. And I believe that the Lord has wired us to help in the capacity that he's wired us to help, whatever that might be. But I've had specific instances in my life where I've seen people that need help, and it feels terrible saying it, but I feel like I've just turned the switch off and said, hey, this is not the focus of the day. I need to go to work, or I need to do this, or I need to do, whatever it is. Like there was a homeless gentleman trying to cross the street, and he got stuck in the middle of the street yesterday. And I just saw person after person pass him by, and I pulled the car over the side of the road, and I was like, yeah, I got to be at this place. But, this guy needs help right now, and yeah, like, just like in the song I talk about is the way that I feel like the Lord has designed the world, that if we all did a little bit of our part and served the world, there wouldn't be as much need in the world. There wouldn't be as much hurt. There wouldn't be as much mental health issues in the world. If we all were loving just the smallest bit, we would see so much of a change and so much of an impact in the world. So yeah, what it looked like in my life, I did global missions, I did local missions, and became passionate about some, just learning some other cultures and being comfortable becoming uncomfortable for the sake of others.
Yeah. And I think as you were talking, I was thinking I would put outreach in the category of something that we're all called to, but I think what makes you unique, and there's a lot of people that are built how you are. You're very wise in your outreach, and I think you're called to be more of a facilitator, leading the way in outreach. Like seriously, I mean,
thank you.
I remember back in the James Island days, I mean, just tapping into your past experience being with people that are homeless, because we would have homeless people come by, and you offered very good advice, in how to handle certain things. But how about you guys? Like when you think of you as a unique, wired individual that God has put your heart together and knitted you in your mom's womb, like did he knit you for some unique stuff that you would say is kind of personal to you?
That's a hard question to answer. In some ways, I feel like for some people, I'd probably be one of them, that question is probably better answered by other people who know me. Because in some ways, it's like I don't know how to answer that beyond well, what am I doing right now? And that's what I'm called to do to the best of my ability. Because it's not like, so, okay, in the position I'm in now, creative director, that is not a job I wanted in 2019. I really didn't want it. I just knew I didn't want anyone else to be doing it. Because that was my team. And I'm like, I don't know, like as I thought of all of the other people who might, be in that position if it wasn't me, I'm like, okay. And so, but I didn't want to do it because my thing is like, I'm not Margaret. I can't do what she does. She's good at these things. I'm not good at those things. And, but the thing about calling is like, one of the problems with the way we talk about calling is I think there's this assumption in the way I hear a lot of Christians talk about calling where it's like, oh, I would know it if I saw it. It's like, I don't think that's true. Like, Robbie, what you were talking about at the very beginning of this episode about going out to Texas, where he's like, I didn't want to do that. And then I started having people say, hey, you should think about this. You should think about this. I was talking with our new youth guy, Alex, coming here, and he's like, it wasn't on my radar. It's like I was talking about, it's like, I don't know that that's what I want to do. I've been in similar places. And so it's like, no, actually, a lot of times I think God calls you to something and it makes no sense to you. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's in your skill set. It's outside your comfort zone. And then what happens is you start, people will start coming alongside you saying, hey, actually, you should think about that. Or you will maybe have a thought, like, maybe I do want to do that. And so I think one of the ways, problems we talk about calling is we assume it matches with what we are good at and with what we're comfortable with. Because that's how we would call ourselves. Like, listen, if I was up to me, my calling would be to read books and write and not talk to people.
Yeah. Wait. But part, I would push back and say that is part of your calling. People come to you and say, hey, I'm writing a sermon. Give me some cultural relevance of this verse, or can you explain what that means? I mean, that is reading and studying and being by yourself. That's why people come to you.
Right. But the difference is, if I could design a calling for myself, it would have nothing to do with other people. and that's
introvert, baby. Right here.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean that as a joke, but I also mean in the sense of if each of us could design our perfect calling, we would also do it without reference to other people, in the sense of what they might need or what they might want or what they might require of us. When we think about our calling, all we tend to think about is what would I require of myself? Or how do I think God has made me? You have no idea how God's made you.
Yeah.
Like this is part of my realization stepping into the creative director role, is I realized in the role, I don't think this is me like propping myself up. I think this is just like some things I learned. It's like, I'm actually good at things I never would have known I could do if I didn't have step into this opportunity. I'm actually wired in some ways I had no idea. And that's like, I think that's life, right? You realize, I actually enjoyed this. I never would have known if I hadn't had to do it.
Yeah.
I'm good at this. I never would have known. And so the idea is like, what's your calling? There's a way in which I have no idea what some of my calling is. I probably haven't found it yet. And so for me, I feel like my responsibility to God and to others is to just really pay attention to what's being asked of me in a given moment, and to step into it to the best of my ability. And I'm not trying to be like, philosophical or vague or whatever. It's just, I don't have I have to do this with my life. Right? And so for me, it's like the mindfulness of what is, to the best of my ability, what do I think God's asking of me in this moment?
That's so huge to be able to let that go. Seriously. Like because
I haven't let it go.
well, I mean, you literally just said that you don't have this like ideal. Here's what I
but I want it.
Oh, gotcha. I misheard you.
Like one of the things is like when I read a biography or something, that people's like from the age of 3 months old.
Right.
All he wanted to do was X. I'm like, that sounds amazing.
Right.
I would love that kind of laser focus.
Gotcha.
And so no, it's like I would love that, but I don't have it.
I think you do, but anyway, Lynne.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I think about even from a job perspective, from the time I graduated from college until now, different roles that I never chose any of that. Like I never sought out or thought like this is the thing out. Even me being a paralegal, I literally was waiting tables right after college, went to this sorority alumni meeting, and this girl was like, "Oh, I work at a law firm. You should come work here." And I was like, "Okay." So I started there as a project assistant, and the person I worked for was like, "You're basically doing my job. You should go to school at night and become a paralegal."
Yeah.
And so like, I just look at this progression of like, I was never a person that was like, this is the thing I want to do. But what's interesting is I think, teaching is in me, but it looks different in different settings. So what teaching looks like when I'm like sitting around with a group of friends sharing like what I'm going through, what I'm learning, or what the Lord is saying, it looks different when I was a paralegal working with other people. And so I think there's something in me that like looks at the world and can make sense out of things that seem like they're chaotic, and like bring a process or an understanding to it. Even with friends, like I tend to be the friend who people come to when they're arguing or they need advice, or like, and I'm kind of looking objectively at things. And so I think that my calling, or whatever the Lord has wired me in, has been that kind of thing of like bringing order, whether that is in a thought or a relationship or whatever. And so it looks different. It doesn't have a like job or a career or a thing attached to it, but I like feel that more. And I think in the past couple of years, I've kind of been like, oh, I am a teacher, but that doesn't mean platform. That doesn't, and so when I realized that, I've like started to notice how, there are times for me to be silent, but there are times for me to share in whatever capacity. So
you're better than me at organization and all that stuff.
Everything.
I'm everything. but
most people are.
Yeah, right. But I'm pretty good too. And do you remember like a time in your life where you realized, oh, everybody doesn't think this way? Like seriously, I mean, people who can just go about their life without scheduling anything, or I'm just like,
understand.
I'm
Never look at their bank account. Don't track their money. I think you and I had this discussion before, and like there was a time in my life where it would offend me if people like didn't operate like me, and then I was like, oh, they just don't. They can't.
They don't,
and
do
they
that.
won't.
Right, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. It helped us stop hating them.
It did.
Hey, so real quick, and we're wrapping this thing up. You good for 10 more minutes, Robbie?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Cool. We have and I really don't like pitches, but this will feel kind of pitchy, but I think that it's worth it. So patrons who support this podcast, first of all, hello and thank you. For those that are not patrons, you actually get a live feed, so you can hear us talk as we're recording, and maybe we'll make some mistakes and wish that you hadn't heard something. But we have live feeds, we have extra content. But anyway, all of the money, and we're even doing it to where none of the credit card fees are, goes to anything. The whole $10 that you give goes to support prison ministries. And I was able to go with Jim Wright to one of the prisons a couple weeks ago. And I'm telling you, the impact that Seacoast is having on people who are in jail is just unbelievable. I want people to really think about this. I would ask that if you're watching or listening, that you would just give this a second thought. That would be my guess. But I would say my guess would be that we have around 1,000 regular listeners. That would just, and I'd say regular listeners, people that listen to 2 episodes a month. Like I would guess 1,000, maybe 2,000. But anyway, we'll say 1,000. Imagine if half of you, those of you that write me and say, oh, I love the podcast. Imagine if half of you said, oh, I'll be a patron. We'd be able to give Jim Wright $5,000 a month. And I'm going to read one of, and I'll do this semi-regularly, but all right, so this is one of about a dozen letters, and honestly, I double-clicked on this one. I was like, I want to read this one on the air, but I'll do this semi-regularly so people can know what they are supporting or what they could support. This is a guy who wrote Seacoast and said, pray for our health and well-being. Also, please pray for all of my victims and their families. I am an ex-gangster ex-gang member and have caused much harm. Get choked up. Please pray for their well-being. Most of all, please pray for God to fill me with the Holy Spirit. I'm ready to give my life fully to Him and to follow His will. Pray for me to let go of my pride. I don't know the second word. I want to say, maybe he was saying arrogance, lust, and everything else that prevents me from following my Savior, Jesus. Thank you so much. I hope I can stay connected to your church even from this terrible place, sincerely. And then he put his name. And I'm telling you, it brought me so much joy being there and hearing people refer to Seacoast as you guys and thank y'all and telling them, I'm like, we consider you guys a part of the church, right? Y'all are part of our church family. I mean, you guys are tuning in. That just brought me so much joy to be able to say that. But I really do want to say that if you're a regular listener to the podcast, zero guilt if you're not a patron, but I do want you to know that there's a great opportunity, and I would say a lot of you probably wouldn't even miss that $10. So I encourage you to do that. Lynne is going to roll her eyes because Robbie, she tells me that I talk about race stuff too much.
Oh my gosh.
But
I knew it.
No. I already told Robbie, here is a special example because Robbie has... he's one of the three guys who has helped me the most open my eyes to blind spots. I mean, probably when I first met Robbie, I did not see the extent of racism still. I mean, seriously, my eyes were open to a lot of stuff. And so I do want to ask you one question, but Robbie, one thing that I remember leveled me and then the light bulb went off and I was like, oh, I don't understand. Novel idea is you told me that there was a situation, and I'm almost sure it was you, where I think it was your cousin right in front of the house got pulled by a police officer. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Yeah, and you told me that everybody was absolutely 100% full panic mode. Like everybody in the house watching cousin get pulled over by a cop. And for me, I'm thinking, my son gets pulled over by a cop. I walk outside and I just wait for the cop to finish his thing so I can talk to my son about speeding the neighborhood. I'm not scared at all. And you said your family was having a hard time keeping it together. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that was a big one. So you don't have to talk about that situation.
Yeah.
If you want to get into that, that's fine. I have a question for you. But we've talked about this on the podcast, and so I just would love to hear. And it's a big question, so feel free to just tackle an aspect of it. But we've talked before about how would you answer this question? Are we getting better as a society when it comes to racism? Are we getting better?
Wow, that's a big question.
Are we becoming less racist?
That's a big question. I thought you were going to ask me about the time that you guys wanted to throw an all-white party at the church. And all of a sudden... Attire! All of a sudden, you looked at me and you were like, oh my gosh, did we just say that?
I didn't come up with an all... I don't have those creative ideas with that stuff. I didn't come up with an all-white party.
Throw your all-white party. I don't care.
It's funny. Hey, it's funny that you say that because these things stick out in my mind. I remember you told me how... it is a thing when you walk into an airplane, for instance, and you see another black person. It's like, what's up? Like there's a connect because there's a discomfort. What? Oh, my bad.
That's a secret.
You were talking to me as your pastor. My bad.
I'm just playing. No, my wife notices it all the time. It's really
I was going to say it's not a secret.
Yeah,
we notice. We notice.
Yeah. Okay. So when you were telling that story, I was actually thinking about a different instance because when I was 13 or 14, I was at Ryan's Steakhouse. Actually,
those yeast rolls, man.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good.
Quincy's was good too,
and the clam chowder was really good too.
Oh, yeah.
But I was actually with a singing group at the time. I was the youngest member. Everybody else was at least a decade older than me, and we just got done with a concert. We're sitting in Ryan's, and police officers literally came into the restaurant and arrested our drummer. Literally picked him up, cuffed him, took him outside. we went outside and was like, what is happening? What is going on? I just remember my stepdad going out and talking to the officer, and they said that he fit a description of somebody that they were looking for. And it was like the whole progression. I was probably 13 or 14 years old at the time, and that, I mean, he was not the person, obviously they had to release him, but like, how traumatic is that? The other one with the cousin, that was years later. I was, mid to late 20s at the time. He was probably 18-ish. And I just remember in his mind, he just wanted to make it home. So he was literally driving like 5 miles an hour down the road as the cop was behind him, just trying to make it to the house. So I just happened to be there. I don't know why, but I just happened to be there. So yeah, we were all, we came out to the yard and just was telling him, like, just listen, stay still and just listen, to the cop, and I do remember talking to you and you telling me about some of your encounters, and I was in me thinking, like, I would never do half of the stuff that you're saying that that you would do to a cop. It's a very different experience.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I think I told you this story, Robbie, years ago, but so several years ago, it was at an all staff. And I was walking across the street from the church to go to the office, because our offices are across the street from the church. And as I get to the median, this SUV like pulls up to me, and the guy kind of leans down and goes, "Hey, where are you heading?" I'm like, "What?" Like, I'm just crossing the street. And he said some other things, and like, it was real weird. I had no idea what was going on. And I think I said to him, "Is like, listen, man, I don't know what you're doing or why you're talking to me, but I'm just going to leave." And so I cross the rest of the street, and he does this U-turn in his SUV, peels out alongside it, curbs it alongside me, because by that time I'd made it to the parking lot of the offices, curbs it alongside me, and his window's still down, and he flashes his badge, and he says, I need you to stop right now. And he says, "You need to show me your forearms, roll up your sleeves." I'm like, okay. So I do that. And so the whole thing was, I don't know if you guys remember this all staff, but we were actually locked down. Shouldn't have left the church, because there were there were fugitives in the area.
Yeah.
And I was wearing, I have a pair of red shoes, and I was wearing red shoes, and one of the suspects was wearing red shoes. So anyway, I roll up my sleeve, show my forearms, no tattoos. And the guy immediately relaxes, and he just goes like, hey man, no, never mind. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." He goes, "Don't worry about it," and he leaves. And I remember I just had this moment where I thought, if I wasn't white, the way that I had behaved towards him, like, that would have gone so differently. Because I basically told him to get lost in the median. I was rude. I was not, because I thought he was being very weird. Didn't even enter my mind that he was an officer. And so it's like, I was rude. I walked away. Like, and given who they were looking for, he had every reason to think that I, was a guy. And he didn't even at no point did he even get out of his car. So I just, I feel like that was a moment for me where like something really clicked in my brain. And I was like, oh, I was very much treated differently in that moment, in that encounter, because of how I look. There's no way that would have gone that way.
Was that semi-monumental for your journey of understanding, having more understanding, do you think? Like, is it something you go back and say, man, that was kind of a shifting in my head?
It was definitely a shifting, just because it was personal. It was just such an obvious, oh my gosh.
Well, I had one of my friends who's a police officer, and he was kind of joking with me we were just having lunch or something like that. And he's like, I said, yeah, I get people that stop me all the time, and specifically officers think I'm like a drug dealer or something. And he was like, yeah, because you look like one. And I'm like, what does that mean, that I look like one? He's like, it's your hair. I said, well, it's interesting, because the people who will approach me are actually clean cut white guys in suits and short hair that will never be suspected. Mm-hmm. Not this guy who's never done a drug in his life and has no desire to. It's profiling. And it's just it's unfortunate. That is a reality in our society and in my hometown. Yeah. I'm like, come on now, I'm from here. Mm-hmm. But
you saw me in the Notebook.
Robbie, go ahead and tell people. Go ahead and tell people where to find you in the Notebook, the movie with Rachel McAdams and what's that dude's name?
It's Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. He is a very nice looking guy.
And more importantly, James Marsden.
Yeah,
yeah,
that is more.
You were tell people around what part in the movie.
I was midway in the proposal scene.
Yeah,
I was a teenager and was hired to play trumpet in the big band when James Marsden proposed to Rachel McAdams, which I had no idea who she was at the time because she was known for Mean Girls. I think it was So it took us, I think, 15 hours to film that one scene. So we were just like, I did get to meet James and Oba Babatunde, who was in Life, and a couple other people. It was really, really, really awesome experience for sure.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. Well, this has been awesome, man. You want to give a shout out to any of the projects you're working on, or just anything in general that we didn't touch on that you think would interest Seacoast people? Because a lot of people listening, they know who you are, so they'd be interested in the stuff that you're up to.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest thing that I've been focusing on now is I finally launched a nonprofit called Madison Arts that's focused on performance, education, and outreach. And that's been something that 15 years in the making. Those who have known me for a while know that right after my undergrad, I went into the jazz scene and I was working in the nonprofit space as an artistic director. And for 15 years, I sat and just allowed the Lord to speak to me what my iteration of that would look like, what I can bring to the world. And that is to help platform creatives, to teach them how to build sustainable careers and how to do outreach in creative ways and produce mentorship. So if you want to check out what we do, you can go on our website that is developing, www.madisonarts.co. And you can see some of the projects we're working on and how to support us on there. We are active on Instagram as well. So,
sweet, man.
Thank you.
Sweet. Well, I'll let you off the hook for a few questions, so we'll have to have you come back on, man. It's awesome.
I love that.
All right, so we'll end with putting you on the spot. In football language, what position is TE? If you see TE,
I know that one.
You got it. Look at that smile. Let's hear it.
That's tight end.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You've come a long way, Robbie Madison.
I can identify a tight end by their body frame now.
Wow.
I can't do that for every position, but tight end for some reason.
Love you, man.
It's so good to see you guys. I miss y'all. And please tell all my friends and family I said hey in Charleston.
Yep.
I'll see you soon.
You've been watching Seacoast Church's Things You Won't Hear on Sunday podcast. You can now become a patron of this podcast and receive exclusive content. Your support goes towards Seacoast ministry efforts and local presence. Also, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe to this podcast so that you get these episodes as soon as they're released. All of this information can be found in the show notes. Thanks for watching.